Welcome back, newcomers, our old mainstay supporters, viewers of Book Club Corner. Welcome back to another episode of Book Club Corner, where we chat with local authors, book publishers, as well as booksellers about the love of the literary arts, the love of the written word, and about books, Caribbean literature, how it's going, how it started, and what's it coming to, right? And today we have an amazing author with us, and that is R.S.A. Garcia. And she is the first female winner of the Nebula Science Fiction Award for Short Story. She's also the author of Tanti Merle, Farmhand 4200, Lex Talionis, and The Night Ward. I hope I pronounced that right? You correct me, Rhonda. And she is also a Sturgeon Award finalist, as well as the the Locus and Ignite Award finalist, and a Machine Intelligence Foundation for Rights and Ethics 2023 Media Award winner. Welcome, Rhonda. So many accolades.
Yeah, hi, welcome. Yes, it's been very, very strange after a very long time in the SFF industry, sort of laboring in obscurity, to suddenly see your name on ballots and then to see your name on trophies.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I'm so excited for you. So congratulations, not just from Book Club Corner and Tobago Updates, but from entire community of readers and writers across Trinidad and Tobago, the wider Caribbean. I know our sci-fi fans are just cheering you on, right? So we want to thank you for your labor of love, because it's been a long time coming. Yeah,
very, very long. If you go all the way back to when I started writing, it would have to be when I was around 8 years old. And if you go all the way back to when I started seriously trying to get published, it would be around the time, around 2000 actually, that I joined a writer's workshop online, and from that workshop started to find out how do you submit books to publishers, how to write letters to agents to see about getting represented, because I know self-publishing is all the rage, but the reality is, if you want, I never had the kind of money to get into self-publishing. That requires a lot of money, particularly for marketing.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that, because listen,
there are ways to do. There are ways to do it cheap. I'm not saying no.
No. We're gonna get into that conversation about being traditionally published, because listen, there are a lot of authors who want to know about that. Right, so we're going to get into that later on.
Because of my financial circumstances.
Yes,
I decided that I wanted to be paid for my work.
That's right. Listen, we're sipping today on Book Club Corner. You know how we do it. We sip and we chat, we relax, and Rhonda is having some refreshing and hydrating what they call government juice, right?
Yes.
I'm having some coconut water. I'm being hydrated today. And however you decide to spend your time with us at Book Club Corner, whatever you decide to snack on and sip on, we are so happy to have you here with us today. We're going on a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be getting into all these awards and how you too can become an award-winning author. So don't go far. Go and grab a drink, grab a snack, and come right back to Book Club Corner, where we are chatting here with Rhonda Garcia, sci-fi author and award winner. See you in a few minutes.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show. 'cause this is your show.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported. Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes for breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti served with chokers, bull joil and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Are you an architect or draftsman looking to upgrade your skills, or a beginner eager to master essential tools? ReCAD Labs has the solution. Our Revit Architecture Fundamental Tobago course is designed to boost your skills and confidence. Running from October 6th to November 17th, this course includes a live session on November 17th for hands-on learning. Learn from experts in our virtual classroom and stay ahead in the world of architecture. Visit recadlabs.com to enroll now and follow us on social media for updates.
Viewers, thank you for tuning in with us today on another episode of Book Club Corner. And we are chatting here with the award-winning sci-fi Trinbagonian author, R.S.A. Garcia, aka Rhonda Garcia. Are you here with wonderful? Congratulations. Listen, you have so many wins so quickly under your belt. I want to talk about what seems to be the most prestigious of the wins, right? And tell us about how did that happen? Because I went and I was researching and I saw the online award ceremony, right? And this was something, where the writers in sci-fi really are looking forward to see who is shortlisted, who is a finalist, and who is winning. And we have quite a number of authors writing from sophisticated spaces and writing from very down-to-earth stories in the sci-fi world. Tell us about your journey, one, to become shortlisted and become a finalist. And that call when they told you, listen, Miss Garcia, you have won. Tell us about the excitement.
Well, that's a lot of stuff. but I will start at the beginning probably. Like I was saying before, I started trying to get published around 2000, and I joined an online workshop called the Online Writers Workshop for Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror. And at that time it was free, and it was being run by a very reputable publisher called Delray. In the sci-fi world. You can look it up, they're a very big publisher. And at that point in time, agents used to come there. People would come there looking for who was next. A lot of my contemporaries at that time have gone on to become Hugo Award-winning authors and award-winning and best-selling authors across categories. So I had some really good contemporaries, and what it did was give me feedback and real knowledge about how to get your work in front of the industry, in front of publishers and agents. But the most important thing it did was to teach me just how much I had to learn to be a good writer. Because the reality of it is you can't really get out of our countries as small as ours without being able to at least match, or quite frankly, to be better than people who are writing from first world countries like America, like Britain, like Canada, like Australia. These are the places where science fiction and all the commercial genres, science fiction, fantasy, horror, mystery, romance, these are the countries where they tend to get their authors from, and they have access to conventions, access to information, access to the industry, and we don't have that. So really and truly, if it wasn't for the advent of the internet and email and the industry picking up those things, I'm not entirely sure I would have been able to get as far as I did. But thank God, just as I hit a stage where I was like, how do I improve my writing? How do I get it to where I want it to be? The internet came through, this workshop popped up, and I started writing and posting my work on there for feedback. So fast forward through all of that, you try to sell your book. And in those days, there wasn't really self-publishing, and you had to try to get an agent or try to get a publisher interested. Most publishers, especially the traditional publishers, the really big ones like Penguin and Delray and all these people, they want to hear from an agent. Yes, they get people send them stuff which they put in what they call their slush pile, but it's very hard to make it out of the slush pile because they didn't ask for those books and they don't owe those books anything. There's like one intern who will go through it, and if you don't capture that intern in the first few sentences or the first few pages, the book goes in the dustbin and you never hear from them, So it's better to get an agent, and I was trying to get an agent for a very long time, and I did not actually get an agent until my book got a publisher, my new book, The Knighthood. So I want to correct one thing quickly before we go forward. I'm not the first female winner of the Nebula Award for short story, but I am the first winner from Trinidad and Tobago. And the story that I won it with, Tanti Merle and the Farmham 4200, is actually the first written in Trinidadian Creole to win the award. And that was really important to me because when I started out in this industry, definitely there was a feeling that you had to write what people in America and Britain would want to read and what they would want to see in order to get ahead. And I, for a long time, felt like people didn't want to see the feedback I got. They didn't want to see my culture was confusing to them. They didn't understand it. They didn't fix this, make this more legible for us. Thankfully, the industry kind of underwent some change in the mid-2000s, and we started to see more diversity popping up. And as a result, I felt more comfortable writing more of what it is I cared about, my culture, my people, my language, and putting us in the future, because we're not going anywhere. All of us are going into the future together. And I feel like these voices, the uniqueness of my voice, Trinidadian voices, West Indian voices, compared to other Western societies, really helped me stand out. And when the industry was ready to see me, boy, did they ever see me. Because when I first started getting awards notice was a few years ago. I published some novellas and novelettes in one of the biggest sci-fi magazines in the world and in the US, Clarksville magazine. It's very, very difficult to get in there. They only accept about 1% of the submissions they receive, and they pay very well. And they put your work up for free online. and they get a lot of awards notice. And luckily for me, the novella that I had written for them ended up being getting on recommendation lists, which is the first step to having people recognize who you are. And then after that, the work that I did in that series, which is basically a Trinidadian, West Indian world where we are out in space colonizing. That series got nominated for a Locus Award and for a Sturgeon Award. So the Locus Award is an award that Locus Magazine, which is the magazine of sci-fi, basically keeps track of all of the history of sci-fi and stuff. They give out these awards every year for work, books, short stories, movies, that they think have really impacted the and that their magazine readers have really enjoyed. And then there are the Nebula Awards. You'll see the Nebula there that was on the right-hand side.
Yes.
When you want to join them. Which is given out by this the Science Fiction Writers Association of America. And that is an international organization of science fiction authors, the premier organization for science fiction and genre authors. And the only people who can vote on that award are actually other members of the association. So it's very difficult to win that little nebula there on the right-hand side, that lovely little thing with the solar system in it. Because you first have to be good enough to get the attention of your peers.
Yes.
And your peers are people like George R.R. Martin.
Yeah.
Who,
Oh my
for
God.
those who are not familiar, is the writer of what you popularly know as the Game of Thrones series.
Yes.
He won this award.
I know you. Listen, you're in amazing company. But being a proud Trinbagonian, let me say, he's in amazing company, right?
Thank you. How they do it basically is every year the members will vote, and I am a member, and then they call up the persons to let them know that they are on the ballot. So you kind of know as soon as voting closes, the calls start. And the first year I was nominated, I was actually nominated for the first time last year for one of the novellas that I did in Clarksville called Bishop's Opening, which has doubles in it, and a space station, and an assassination plot.
Let me tell you.
They called me up, and I honestly thought, oh, this must be one of my relatives. Why are they calling me in the middle of the night? Are they crazy? Like, is somebody dead? And, then they told me, no, you've been nominated. Do you accept the nomination? And I was like, who's the idiot that says no? But then I found out, some people have been nominated so many times and they're so gracious, they might turn it down just to give someone else a chance. Like one of my heroes, Martha Wells, who does the Murder About series, she has turned down Nebulas over the last few years in order to give other people a chance, Nebula nominations. So last year was my first time being on a ballot at all, and I for the Nebula. But it was my third time being on a ballot because I had been nominated for the Ignite Awards twice in a row. And the Ignite Awards are a new award from which survived the Fire Convention. And the Fire Convention was built to honor Black speculative fiction in particular, international Black speculative fiction. And so that award meant a lot to me, to know that people were seeing the work I was doing. And even though I didn't win, they give you this lovely finalist medal. So it was like I won something anyway. And then fast forward to this year, and I had written this story called Tanti Merle and the Farmhand 4200. And of course, everybody who hears the Tanti Merle part knows what I'm referencing. And that I created a futuristic sort of homage to Paul King Douglas and, the stories I grew up with.
Yes.
And it's basically about a grandmother who gets a helpful robot who's trying to help her take care of a very, very stubborn goat. And I really loved this story. To me, I put my whole heart and soul into it, and I sent it out to you, and I said, this one of the top magazines in SFF, Uncanny Magazine, took it. And I was like, this is great, wonderful, it's in a really good venue. I did not expect that it would get nominated for 4 international major sci-fi awards. Like literally, the Nebula is probably the most prestigious, although a lot of people probably think the Hugo is bigger. The Hugo is an award they give out at the World Science Fiction Convention every year. Every year they hold a convention for science fiction. Usually it's somewhere in the States. This year it was in Glasgow. Sometimes they just step outside to give, other people a chance. And
To participate.
it's very, very difficult to get nominated for that too, because only Hugo convention members can vote on that. And you have to pay to go to the Hugos. You have to buy a membership. You have to go see it, So the big awards in sci-fi are really the Hugo, the Nebula. There's the UG Foster, which I was also nominated for. That's given out at Dragon Con, which is the largest sci-fi convention in North America. About 300,000 people attended in 2019, to give you an idea. And that award is in memory of UG Foster, who was an incredible writer who was taken from us too soon due to cancer. And Dragon Con, for whom she was a huge member of the community, decided to honor her by having this award for what they think of as stories that must remain as touchstones within the genre, for the history of the genre. So I was really touched to be nominated for that, because I have never, of course, been able to afford to go to Dragon Con. And I had no idea anybody in Dragon Con knew who I was. So I was like, okay, the reach of my story is kind of insane. And then I got the news that I'd been nominated for the Theodore A. Sturgeon Award. That one is particularly meaningful to me, because Theodore Sturgeon was one of the great writers of the golden age of science fiction. I grew up reading his stories. And when he passed, his children and his estate put together this award, which is given out by the Center for Science Fiction at the University of Kansas. So they are also keeping a record of the genre and studying the genre. And they hold a symposium every year at which they give out a couple of awards. And this is one of the biggest ones. It is literally one of the few awards in SFS that comes with a little money. So, but it's also
that's what we authors like to hear, right? Because we spend
not life changing,
No, but we spend a lot of money publishing.
Awards, most sci-fi awards do not have anything but prestige and the pleasure of knowing that you're part of history attached to it. And this one is both that and a trophy. And I was nominated for it for the first time 2 years ago. And my contemporary, the woman who inspired me to write Caribbean science fiction, Nalo Hopkins, ended up winning it that year. She was the first person from the West Indian diaspora to win that, And I was like, she absolutely deserved that. She's been in SFF for so long. I loved her story, of course, but it felt so good to be nominated alongside her, because for the first time, 2 West Indians on a ballot, on the Sturgeon ballot. It was incredible, So I was like, okay, this is great. I never thought I would ever be nominated for that. That's good enough. And then this year they came back and told me I'd been nominated for that. So that made 4 awards that Tanti had been nominated for. 4 international awards this year. And while, in between you and I talking about coming on the show, and today I got the news that I actually won the Sturgeon Award.
Oh my God, congratulations! Good.
You can believe it.
Congratulations.
So for the first time,
I feel like we should have confetti. We should have drum rolls. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
I am stunned. Absolutely stunned. Because they told me this is a juried award. Certain people nominate works, and then the jury reads everything that has been suggested, and from that they will cull a shortlist. So making the shortlist is very difficult. And this year the shortlist was really impressive. I think 9 or 10 works. So I was like, wow, I have so much competition, but it's so great to be, nominated for yet another huge award. Second time in my life. And this award is so prestigious. Nobody has ever won it twice, even though it's been running since the 80s.
Wow.
And I mean, some of the biggest names in sci-fi have never won it. They've been nominated, but they've never won it. So I went in there thinking, this is great. I'm going to have this forever, 2 nominations for a Sturgeon Award. Who can beat that? And then they wrote me and said, congratulations. You were the unanimous winner this year. I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away.
So I'm so happy to hear this.
They've invited me to attend the symposium in Kansas City next month. So we'll see how that works out. It's it's a big trip. It's a long way away. I don't know. I actually just got back from the science fiction convention in Glasgow, which was amazing and life-changing,
Yes.
where I did several panels. And to have people walk up to me and say, I love your work so much. I love your book. I got
Yes.
an arc of your new book. Oh my God, I'm crazy about it. I had a reviewer from
Listen,
one of the largest
yeah.
journals in the US come up to me and say, I read your book. I turned in my review. I can't believe it. It's amazing. I can't wait for the sequel.
Oh my
You know?
gosh. Yes.
It's a dream. It's literally a dream. I feel sometimes I have to pinch myself.
Listen, you've apart from being an amazing author, apart from putting in the work, right? Because a lot of times we believe authors get prizes and notoriety and visibility because they just, they know somebody. But authors put in work, right? They make sure their writing and their craft is fine-tuned. And I want to congratulate you, one, for the work that you put in and for being recognized for the work that you've been doing. Sci-fi is a hard genre, to be honest with you. You have to come up with some very innovative and unique perspectives in that genre. For those who are listening, when we use the word speculative sci-fi, tell us what that is. Give us an education on what speculative sci-fi means.
So we actually say speculative fiction because our sci-fi is part of speculative fiction. Speculative fiction is an umbrella term for science fiction, fantasy, horror, and anything that blends it. So why I call myself a speculative fiction writer is because I write across genres and I love to blend genres. So for example, my new book, The Night Ward, is a science fantasy. My previous book, Lex Talionis, was a space opera, which is much more solidly sci-fi. So when you say speculative fiction, you're talking about any literature of the fantastic. Anything where there are elements that are either paranormal or science fictional or fantastical, And if you like to blend those kinds of things a lot, and you don't want people to think you're just sci-fi or just fantasy, you can talk about the fact that you're doing speculative fiction. And a lot of people don't realize that this region has been doing speculative fiction since the dawn of time.
Listen, I'm listening to you and I'm saying to myself, that sounds like folklore, right?
That's
Papa
exactly.
Boa and Mama Glow and
every folk tale you've
Bless.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep. And honestly, a lot of my short work, which is what I've won these awards for, is for my short work, which is insane to me. Because when I started out, I started writing books. I finished my first novel when I was 10, and I wrote exclusively novels for years. I finished maybe a dozen novels before I wrote a single short story. And I really started writing short stories because I was having trouble selling my novel. And I said, you know what, let me experiment and let me challenge myself and do work and see if, because you've always written long and I like to challenge myself. I like to get better at my work. And you have to be self-motivated in this industry. You don't get to a level of craft if you just sit on, I finished a book, now I want to publish it. Trust me, the book is not ready to be published. You have to edit. You have to think about whether or not this actually is a sellable book. Maybe another one would be a better one to try to sell. And that's why you're not selling. You don't run out of ideas as a writer, so don't be afraid to put down something and come back to it and do something new,
Yeah.
So I started doing new things and I started selling these short stories, and it really helped me with my long-term work, with my bigger book. And I started to realize, what I really love doing is bringing my culture into it. I love Chimbegonian culture. I love our folk tales. And I realized I have been educated in this. Our school system introduces us to African literature, West Indian literature, Latin American literature, English literature, European literature, American literature. You cannot get an education like this in some countries. And when I realized that, we have, I'm just as good at this as anybody else, because I'm quite sure people in America don't have the same foundation of touchstone of, you know, folklore and stories that some of us have. Not everybody has that. Not everybody's being introduced to that from a young age. And yet here we are at our grandmother's knee, we're learning about Anansi, and we're being told tales about Lajabless and the Phantom and all of these things. And so you will actually see these characters in my work, because what I love to do is take tropes or elements of our culture, our folklore, and add it, you know, to the science fiction, the future, or even the fantasy secondary worlds that I see us being a part of and going forward and stuff. I love to put my own viewpoint on it. My first book, Lex Talionis, was written back in a time when the diversity was not as welcome in the industry. And so it's probably the most space opera thing I've ever written. It's very much references issues that small countries have, that, you know, people who are in the West Indies understand what it's like to be a small state or a small people, and have yourself seen as only a resource, as something for rich countries, corporations, rich people to use, as opposed to somebody who has value in and of themselves, you know. So it's a story. It's not an easy story. It's probably the most explicitly adult thing I have out there, because it deals with sexual assault, it deals with slavery, it deals with things like that. But this book, The Night Ward, is sort of like my version of an epic fantasy. So I got to put in our creatures, you know, like you will recognize things that look like Papa Bois. You'll recognize fairy maids from Tobago, you know. I love fairy maids. I've used them, a version of them, even in my short fiction, you know. So for me, it's like fun to speak to international audiences using this language that we all share, because we love SFF, because we love speculative fiction, because we watch the same movies on TV, love Game of Thrones, love the Marvel movies. It's fun to take that language and use it to talk from our viewpoint with our culture, and to present things maybe they haven't thought about, the way that we here in Trinidad take for granted.
Yeah, this book, Lex Talionis, this is Latin for the law of retaliation. I mean, tell us about the theme in this book in terms of the revenge. Tell us some of what is happening with this young lady. She wakes up, no memory, she doesn't know what's going on, and how does she get from that to revenge, to retaliation, what happens?
So, not to give away the whole story, obviously.
Of course not.
But
no spoilers.
But really and truly, I love to show that when you have trauma, deep trauma, it takes support and encouragement from people around you, especially professionals who take what has happened to you seriously, to help you come to terms with things. And she basically has around her a doctor, and strangely enough, an alien no one has seen before, that is mute, but that literally brought her back from the dead and seemed to have healing powers. So with those two people in her corner, she starts trying to remember. She starts, you know, and also with the help of one of the friends of the doctor, who happens to be somebody who is open to emotions. They start investigating who she could possibly be given her talents, because she knows she's a polyglot, she knows a ton of languages, she is highly educated, but she's also dangerous. She knows a lot of fighting skills, you know, and they have no record of her. And in this future, there's a record of everybody. Your genetic information is in databases all over the solar systems, and you step a toe out of line, somebody can look you up and know exactly who you are, where you were born. You know, it's like your national ID database, but anyone can access it, and she's not in anyone's databases. And her genetic code is unlike anything they've seen before, you know. So they realize when she wakes up in a hospital because she was horribly attacked. And so the first thing was to figure out who attacked her. And the second thing, of course, is why. And with those people in her corner, she starts to investigate why did this happen? where did this happen to me? Because where she was found was not where the attack took place, you know? And the book is basically a mystery. It's a space opera mystery in which we tell the tale a little bit out of order, because you begin at the point where she's found, and then you go back in the middle to where everything began for her. And then you come back to the present at the end, having fully understood now what's going on. And it's, you know, just to hint at it, who she is extremely important to why someone tried to kill her and actually succeeded in killing her, except for this alien coming along and saving her life.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler.
Not too bad, because it's like the first chapter.
Yeah, I love this story. I love stories where the authors like yourself do time regression. So we go back and forth through the timeline. And if you do it well and beautifully, the readers stay with you. They're right there with you, and they never lost any story. Listen, there's so much still to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're viewing wherever from in the Caribbean, in the diaspora, in the world, we're here chatting with Rhonda Garcia, award-winning sci-fi author. We're going to be back with her. We're sipping on some coconut water. Rhonda is having some AKA government juice, right? We're hydrating today. And this is Read an ebook day. It's September. It's literacy month. Get yourself a book. Get yourself one of Rhonda's books, whether it's the Clark's magazine or whether it's one of her other books, Night Ward. Get her book. She's going to be telling us where to get it soon. But we're going to be back in a few minutes. We're excited. We're so charged up with the sci-fi, because sci-fi is one of my favorite genres, right? And Rhonda's going to be reading to us a little later in the show. So don't go anywhere. Get your drink, come back. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Don't tell me about work I out on the road today. Don't tell me about work I out on the road today. Don't tell me about work I out on the road today.
Attention all talented individuals and groups in Tobago. This is your moment to shine. Showcase your skills in music, dance or drama at Tobago Star Quest. Prelim auditions are held every Sunday across various communities throughout Tobago. Seize the chance to win exciting prizes and demonstrate your talent. For more details, visit our Instagram page at tobago.star.quest or email tobagostarquest@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you there.
I'm so relieved Javel gave me this money. Now I could enjoy the holidays with my family and not have to worry about monies for bags, books and shoes.
Javel? Who is Javel? She could give me some money too?
Javel is the July-August vacation education loan at Bethel Credit Union. Up to $20,000 to help with all additional expenses during this July-August.
Yes, you heard right. Call the Bethel Credit Union and ask for Javel. She'll hook you up with the money to take care of all your additional expenses this holiday season. Open to new members too. Get up to $20,000 and have a worry-free holiday with Javel. Call 639-8226 or 631-1336 or message us on Facebook for more information.
Are you ready to optimize your wedding business for engagement season and book more clients? Refine is the place to be. Refine, the Wedding Business Summit. Saturday, 14th September 2024 from 9 a.m. Pigeon Point Heritage Park, Tobago. This premier event is designed specifically for Caribbean wedding industry professionals. Gain expert insights, practical knowledge, and valuable connections that can help you thrive in the destination wedding market. Register now at refinesummit.com. It is time to refine. Refine, the Wedding Business Summit. Get insider info, advice, and insights from local, regional, and international players in the destination wedding market. Refine, the Wedding Business Summit. Saturday, 14th September 2024, Pigeon Point Heritage Park, Tobago. It's time to refine.
Welcome, bibliophiles, readers, lovers of the literary arts and of the spoken and written word. Welcome back to Book Club Corner, where every Wednesday we chat with local authors, publishers, and as well booksellers about their love of the literary arts and what's happening in the publishing industry. And today we have the award-winning science fiction writer, Trinbagonian author, Rhonda Garcia with us, and we're chatting about her many awards and accolades and her book, Lex Talionis. And she gave us some hints and she gave us some very big bombs, as I think, right, about that book. If you want to get into Rhonda's books, Rhonda, tell us where we could get these books.
So locally, you can get Lex Talionis right now at Paper-Based Bookstore. And you can also pre-order my new book, The Science Fantasy, The Night Ward, which I call The Witcher Meets Caribbean Mythology. If you've seen The Witcher, it's a great, fun SFF program. You can also pre-order it there. And if you have an Amazon account, a BNN account, a Kobe account, if you're in Canada and you're in Indigo, it's available for sale through all of those venues, all of those booksellers. And probably Amazon would be the easiest place to order it. And there used to be copies in RIK of Lex Talionis. I'm not entirely sure that they have any left. It's sold out several times.
Yes.
But also keep in mind that booksellers here care to hear what you want. So if you have a favorite bookstore, you can go to them and say, do you have it? And if they say no, can you order it for me? I would love to buy a copy. Booksellers love guaranteed sales.
Listen, what you just shared there was so gold. As authors, you don't always have to wait until a bookstore wants your book. Sometimes, listen, send a good friend around there and tell them, listen, go and ask for my book, right? Go inside of there and ask for my book, right? Send people inside the bookstores. When they keep saying, oh, where can we find? Go in the bookstore, in the nearest bookstore and ask for my book and let them know people looking for my book and want my book. It's a fantastic strategy. Rhonda, tell us about this novella and novelette. In terms of authors who are listening and they're like, wait, I heard about novels. What in God's name is a novella and a novelette, right? Just to give you a hint, right? The novella is smaller than a novel and a novelette is smaller than a novella, right?
Yes.
Rhonda, tell us about why you decided to write short stories and about that difficulty level in writing short stories compared to a full book.
So I will say that any type of writing has difficulty levels because each format has its own challenges, its own pros and cons. I just happen to be the kind of person that likes to challenge myself, and I loved books growing up. The longer the better. So naturally, I kind of went toward writing books when I first started. But then writing a book takes time. And sometimes by the time you get to the end of the book, you're a different writer, hopefully a better one. And sometimes you just want to indulge in something. You just want to tell a particular story a particular way. So I started writing short fiction, both to challenge myself and as a way to have fun and get out some stories that may not be book ideas, but that would be great. What happened was I started to realize that the short fiction market exists and it's international and you can get paid for writing short stories and novellas and novelettes. And so I started doing research about which are the top magazines, because if you're going to get paid the best you can, go to the best magazines, be good enough to come through them, because that's the way you get eyes on your work. And getting eyes on my work is really what made me able to get nominated for these awards, because when you're in magazines the size of Clark's World magazine, when you're in magazines the size of the Uncanny magazine, these people, they have tens of thousands of subscribers. At the time I was in Clarksville, I think they had 50,000 subscribers, but that's not the number of people who come to their web page to look at the magazine every month. It's way bigger than that. And it's the same thing with Uncanny, So I started realizing it was fun to work in short fiction. And I had ideas that were not quite as big as a book idea, but might be fun to explore in a small idea. And the way it goes is basically this. Flash fiction is, well, I should start with drabbles. A drabble is actually a story that's 100 words or less. Above that, you have flash fiction. And generally, that tends to be anything between 5 and 1,500 words. Above that, you have short story, which is usually anything between 1,500 and, say, 7,600 words, you know. It varies depending on markets, and you have to really keep your markets in mind, you know. Your novelette comes after your short story. So they tend to be above 8,000 words to about 16,000 words. And then your novellas start at around 16,500 and go all the way up to 40,000 words, you know. I tend to write smaller novellas, like around 20,000, 25,000 words. Because if I'm going to go all the way up to 40,000, I may as well just write the book, because a book starts at 50,000.
Yeah.
So, you know. But it just so happens that novellas have come back in fashion, because one of probably the biggest sci-fi publisher in America, sorry, my publisher, HarperCollins, I love you, Tor, they had started publishing a line of novellas that became incredibly popular and have pretty much been the entire Hugo ballot for the last probably 10 years or so.
Wow.
Other people are doing novellas. Clarksville does novellas, you know, Uncanny does novellas. Everybody does novellas, but they have started to be monetized now, because this is a length that got very popular, especially with romance readers. It's, you know, just enough to finish reading in one sitting. And people really love that length. And they adopted it back into sci-fi. And now you have all these award-winning, really popular books and series that are in this format. So I just started writing in it because I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to do actually space opera and have it be a novelette, have it be a novella, you know, because I wouldn't necessarily, the idea I have isn't necessarily big enough for a book, but wouldn't it be great to put Trinidad in the future, like the far future, have us, what would we look like on other planets as a society, if we take some of the best of what we do today?
Don't forget Tobago. We want to be in the space
now. Of course not. Right? Everything I do, I make it a point to tell people, do not put that I am from Trinidad. Put that I am from Trinidad and Tobago, or that I am Trinbagonian, because I am. I am from two countries. They act like, how can you be from two countries? Because I am. All right? We're Trinbagonians, we're magical. All right, just
that's our superpower. I love it.
You know, and so it was really important to me to emphasize that all of my culture influences me, and all of my country matters to me, and all of the folklore that I write and put into the world, and all of the people that I put forward, we are Trinbagonian, you know. But I always have, as you put it before, Easter eggs for the people of my culture and from the West Indies, you know. When you read, for example, my first the novelette in the series in space, which I call it my Kyrie Grandmaster universe, and it was called The Sun from Both Sides. And in that particular novelette, for example, you can literally see at one point that you're dealing with a Trinidadian society, because of the way that she refers to certain things. And then Philia Eros Storge Agape Pragma, which was the sequel that I wrote to that was also published in Clarksville magazine, and which ended up winning this year. My first award this year was actually for that novella, and it's the Media Award from the Machine Intelligence Foundation. That one, there's a scene that takes place in what everybody will recognize as our Red House, you know, but it's a Red House on a different planet, you know, and literally they're trying to find a way to protect one of their colonies, which they call Tobago, right? And this colony is extremely important, right? And we don't find out why in that short story, but we will eventually. Of course, the reason I have named it Tobago is because that was our original name. And I use names throughout the series. I try to use names that call back to the indigenous population, you know. So my people are called Kyrie, they are not called Trinbagonians because we are Kairi. This island was referred to as Kairi.
Yes.
You know, so this is the sort of thing I'm just trying to seed the pride that I have in where I have come from and the people I have come from for future generations to see themselves. You belong there too. You're going to be in the future. This is your world to build it how you want, you know? And we have so much about ourselves that is wonderful and different and loving and compassionate. And we care about community and care about each other. And I know that, you know, it's a difficult time for us. And there are things that we wish as a society we are handling better. We would like, you know, those in power to handle it better. We would like to see better solutions. But you also have to give some people something to dream toward.
Yes.
And so my whole career has been about giving us something to dream toward because we are enough. We are brilliant. We are amazing. We adapt like nobody else. We survived everyone's attempts to destroy this region by taking out the resources, leaving us broke when we said we don't want you to use us anymore. You know, we survived all of that, and in only 60-something years, we built a society in which if you fall down in the road, somebody will save your life for free.
Yes.
And there are countries that are 200 and 300 and 400 years old that can't do that and won't do that and doesn't care about their community the same way, you know? And that, to me, is the essence of what it is to be Trinbagonian, is community and compassion and love and joy for life and the ability to adapt and be resilient no matter what is going on around us, no matter how dark it might get, no matter how difficult things are. We tend to find a way to find joy, to express solidarity, to be resilient, you know?
Yeah.
So I felt like that's the whole point of SFF, though. Aren't we always reading all these stories about people who strode into the frontier and survived? You know, so why don't we belong there? You know, of course we belong there. Of course, it's our future too. You know, so that was the whole point of what I'm doing.
Listen, I love what I'm getting from you is that sense of just not national pride, but pride in humanity, pride in community, and being able to translate that onto the page. I think that is an amazing superpower, an amazing skill that you as an author have. When we talk about sci-fi, Caribbean stories, our unique voices, when we talk about speculative fiction, right? Tell me from your perspective, Rhonda, as an author from this region, what would you say is one or two things, perhaps, that we need more support for our sci-fi authors with from our authorities, from those who, you know, read the budgets coming up just now? What do authors in this genre from the Caribbean need for support?
So the first thing I want to talk about is that all of the arts needs support. We tend to have grants and medals and awards for people who do well in sciences, which is great. Don't put an end to that. You know what I mean? That's part of what inspires sci-fi writers, in particular, myself in particular. But the arts, we don't value as much. We basically let people make their own way, and then after they've made their own way, we go, oh, that's great. You know? And what we really want is to encourage young people from school to dream beyond what it is they are studying and to apply what they're studying to what they want to see. Because there were times in my youth growing up, going to school, when teachers did not encourage me to write outside of whatever the topic for the essay was that week. You know, literally I got punished sometimes for writing more than I was asked to write, you know, for writing books, for, you know, letting the class read the stuff I was reading. And what we have to realize is that you're not just teaching kids English, you're teaching them self-expression. Art teaches self-expression, and human beings need self-expression, both to have confidence and to develop properly, and to go out into the world and be a productive and citizen and a valuable and positive part of the community. So we need more grants, more recognition of the importance of the arts. Yes, it doesn't look like a big deal when somebody's putting on a play, playing a steel pan, singing or dancing, because can't a lot of us do that? But actually helping people go forward to learn more, to get better at it, there's no telling where they will end up once they get to a certain level of skill. You know what I mean? And the government, I don't necessarily see everything as being about the government, but I do think that it would help a lot to have the education system work harder to include Trinbagonian authors and Trinbagonian focused work to kids in this part of the curriculum, like essay writing and reading and so on. Listen, a lot of people nowadays don't like to read because they are not being shown things that they would be interested in. Not because they can't read or because books are boring, but because what they are being shown is boring to them. You could capture so many kids' attention if you show them a sci-fi story that has them in it. We've all read Michael Anthony and, the post-colonial fiction, and these things deserve their flowers, and they provided us a snapshot of that moment in time. So what I'm trying to do is give the kids the dream to go forward, give them a snapshot of what we're hoping for in this moment in time. We haven't stopped living, we haven't disappeared. So why are we putting limits on the literature that comes out and saying, oh, it must look like this. It must look like the literature we admired of the past, before we acknowledge that people can do great things and bring positive recognition for both the country themselves and the culture by not necessarily writing what it is we recognized in the past. You know what I mean? So I would say start at opening up the curriculum to stories like, for example, Tanti Merla and the Fireman 4200. Because every time I read that story, and every time I read my work in schools, because I've been to schools, children are flabbergasted that somebody from Trinidad and Tobago wrote those words. And so I want to give them a chance to see themselves, and I want to say that the government could really start thinking about maybe some grants that go toward the arts and writing, and specifically this kind of writing, and also supporting structures like Bocas Lit Fest a little more, and looking at creating writers' workshops through the universities and places like that don't just focus on one type of writing.
I have to agree with you more. And I love what you said, especially for grants, financial support for the arts. But I always have to advocate for the writers, because sometimes the other art forms, dance, drama, theater, are given that prominence where we are as authors don't get that type of grant and help, right? So I always have to advocate for us in terms of getting even help to publish, right? It's an expensive endeavor sometimes, and not all of us are going to get traditionally published. But we're going to be going to the green room. We're heading into the green room right now. And, this has been such a packed interview with you, Rhonda. We're so happy to have you here with us. But we're heading into the green room where we share insights with authors and publishers. And we're going on a quick break before we go into the green room. So when we come back from this quick break, you're going to read to us, Rhonda. We're going to do this Q&A. And then when we come back, we're going to wrap up, right? So quick break, guys. Please don't go anywhere. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few minutes.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
me happy whenever you come. So me bring you very hard, fiesta, fun, fiesta.
This one is for the people and them who don't care what nobody else have to say about them.
Them none of cash, broke where you have, where you know about.
It's too early for that.
You want the good all.
They do but then enough 99. Girl, go the club, girl, right. Nice.
Who's the one friend can drink all the alcohol no matter what?
Put a bottle and spoon and a cup in my hand and a winding up on me man.
Dream.
Go in. You have to stop it. You have to stop it. Welcome to my kitchen, guys. You have to stop it every night. That's it. That's the intro. Let's do it one more time, right?
Attention members, now is your chance to double or even triple your dividend payment with no increase in your existing loan payment. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to boost your dividends effectively. Whether you're planning a vacation or simply looking to maximize your savings, we've got you covered. Call us today at 639-8226 or 631-1336. Message us on Facebook for more information. Hurry, this offer won't last long. Bethel Credit Union, because we see you at BCU.
And we're heading into the green room right now, where we share insights for publishers and for authors. And today we have a burning question from authors. And that question is, how do I get traditionally published? Some small presses and imprints accept unagented submissions, but you're usually better off with literary representation or an agent. A good agent will know what's selling, why it's selling, and to whom they can sell your book. And as we were speaking to Rhonda, a lot of these things came up. So this is a perfect episode for us to get into terms of traditionally published. How do we get it? How do we find an agent that fits us? How do you find an agent for the genre you've written? Because it's quite a lot in terms of agents out there. And a number of authors have asked me, we have agents here in the Caribbean. We have literary agents. Rhonda, where is your agent?
My agent is based in New York. She is from DMLA, which is one of the bigger sci-fi agencies. It represented a lot of the big names in science fiction for a long time, and it was my dream agency. I was very lucky that I got my books picked out of slush by my editor at HarperCollins, and he loved it so much he decided to make an offer. And so I was able to shop for an agent, telling them, look, I already have an offer in hand. So if you negotiate this deal, it's money. That makes it a little easier, but it's actually not as much as you would think. It still took me weeks to get an agent interested, because agents still have to love your work and they have to be open. So you don't necessarily have the choice of I go to this agent, I offer them money and they'll take it, because the agent knows they have to work with you long term. They want to like what it is you do. They want to like you. And I think that's a really important thing when you're picking an agent. Please keep in mind, it's a business relationship. You want it to last. Don't go with somebody that you already feel like you're not comfortable with, But in terms of finding a publisher, the best way to do that traditionally is to get an agent, because agents know who's looking. So you go through that door. However, you do have occasions when publishers, even big publishers like HarperCollins, like in this case Harper
Yeah, the
Voyager,
big five.
will open up. They will open up to their doors to slush or to unagented submissions, and you can try your luck them. But that doesn't happen very often, so you can still submit to them. But it's fairly unlikely that they will that they'll look at unagented submission. So your best thing to do is try and build a reputation for yourself. Try to work within the community. How I ended up getting nominated for awards, I was in a community that started with the online writing workshop. I made friends there. Those friends left, I left. But then you continue talking. You start up little groups. You start up now WhatsApp and Slack and stuff like that. Back then it was email and little writers forums. And you exchange information. You help each other out. Somebody says, hey, this agent is looking for people, or this publisher is looking for people. There are sites online who are reputable that you can go to do a search for publishers or for venues for magazines like the Submission Grinder, where you can submit short work for pay. And then there are reputable sites where you can look for agents to try, like Manuscript Wish List, and you can also just look up your favorite author and see who their agent is, look up their agency and see if you like what they're looking for, if their agency jives with what you do, and try submitting there as well. There are multiple ways to do it.
Yes.
But you have to be in it for the long haul. One of the really good sites, I think, that puts together searching with agent information and a way to track what you're doing. I used to belong to that site. Goodness, I hope I can remember the name. But there's a site out there that does that. You can literally search for agents. They have all the reputable agents listed there. I tend to encourage people to get an agent outside of this region, because really and truly there is no publishing industry in the West Indies. So you tend to get your agents either in Britain or America, because those are the two the two biggest publishing markets, along with Canada and Australia. And Europe kind of gets lumped together all as one because there's different languages involved in there. But English language, you're looking at America, Britain, Australia, Canada, the Commonwealth and Commonwealth countries. So you should really try to get an agent that will be able to sell you there, because it's going to be difficult to make a living selling only to the West Indies. You know what I mean? So your work has to be up to that standard. And the best way to figure out how to get to that standard is to join communities where you are getting feedback from international persons, is to, come together and give each other proper feedback. It's to go to something like Booker's Lit Fest, participate in panels, participate in workshops, improve yourself, and take criticism seriously.
Yeah, we had another
not necessarily
author.
all the time to heart. Yeah,
Yes,
but
we
take
had
it seriously.
another author who she attended the Ghana Book Fair. And I think what you're talking about in terms of not just Booker Slit, but any book fair that you can attend, right? Because sometimes you're
it helps.
you're vacationing and a book fair comes up. Listen, haul your butt and get to it, right? Because these are opportunities where not just your work will get visibility, but where you can see how people market their book and how they're talking about their books and sharing about their books and networking as well. So I want to say definitely you're giving so many good points here, Rhonda. This Book Club Corner episode, I know it's going to be gold for a lot of authors in terms of going back to listen to all the suggestions and all the tidbits that you have been sharing. Listen, we're running out of time, and before they take off the lights on me, right, Rhonda? Listen, you don't have to go home, but you got to come out of here. Before they do all of that, let's just wrap up. I have been so enthused about this conversation about sci-fi. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have had Rhonda Garcia with us here today. Award-winning science fiction, Trinbagonian, female writer, and we're so happy to have had you here. Cheers to you, Rhonda. We hope that you have many more awards to come. Right, we're so proud of you. And keep in mind, every week we're here on Book Club Corner bringing you another author. And next week is no different. We have the author, Debbie Ann Wiley, and she's coming on to talk about her children's book, Voyage to the moon. And we can't wait for Miss Debbie Ann Wiley to get here. Listen, we've been having such good sessions. You don't want to miss another session of Book Club Corner. If you've missed any, please look for us on our YouTube channel. That's Book Club Corner TT on YouTube. We have all our episodes. Keep in mind, you may have some special ones at heart. You can find them individually and watch them over and over again, just like this one with Miss Rhonda Garcia. Get her book, read her book, write sci-fi. This is Literacy Month in September. We are encouraging us all to get on board with reading, with literacy, and sharing our Caribbean voices. And thank you so much for being here with us on Book Club Corner when we tune in next week to another episode speaking to Miss Debbie Ann Wiley. See you next week.